I don't know what we got for notes. We're going to wing this and hope it works out. We're doing this by ourselves tonight, guys. Mike, you know you can always talk about the This Is Nuts video anytime you want. Remember the This Is Nuts?
Yeah.
This is nuts. That was where you and Joe Steinman were annoying me when I was trying to cold call Athearn one day.
Why would we want to talk about
Because
that?
it's got 575,000 views.
3, 2, 1.
This is the What's Neat podcast. What's Neat? Starting over. Give me a countdown. This is the What's Neat This Week podcast for September 16th, 2017. This is podcast number 10. I'm Ken Patterson, the host of the monthly show at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And tonight, this evening, I've got Jeff Meyer with me and Mike Buddy. So we're going to try to make a conversation ourselves together, but I'm sure we can do it because there's always a lot to talk about. Jeff, I'm telling you, I see that you brought this beautifully weathered boxcar with you this evening. You want to talk about that a little bit and what its purpose is?
Yeah, this is Chris Palomares of Athearn contacted a few guys from the weathering shop, Butch Eiler, myself, and Gary Christensen. He wanted to do some promotional stuff for their Ready to Rust series of freight cars, and I got this side done. It's all weathered to match a photograph, and then as you'll see, it's all mostly done with oil paints for the most part. But if you'll look on the other side too, that is basically what the car looks like from Athearn. They've got it patched. It's a former McLeod.
So you can see the before and after.
Yeah,
it's a former McLeod River car.
This is how it starts out, with the bear on the side.
Yep.
And then here's how Jeff finished it off. Well, it's probably not finished.
And then didn't Butch Eiler do a car for him too?
Yeah, he did. Yes. I believe a mechanical reefer that was patched. I can't remember, but his got rusted. And
I love Butch Eiler. He came over here that one day, and we got such great video footage. There was another cameraman over here filming that day too. It almost looked very, very professional around here. That was at the beginning. I think that was 2013. When we were filming that.
His stuff.
And who's the other one? Gary Christensen?
Gary's got a car he's supposed to do. We're still waiting. Gary? Car done.
Gary does magnificent work. Remember that photograph with the girl in the car? The Ichabod car?
The Ick Chick.
The Ick Chick.
That's right.
Then the tank cars. I remember Gary's just a great guy. And he does a lot of great work. I see his work on the internet. He does these street scenes on the internet where it looks like everyday USA.
Right.
With all the corporate, businesses on the side of the road.
Taco Bell and everything.
It looks great.
Billboards. Yeah, his stuff is very hard to tell it's a model. Well, Butch Eiler's stuff is the same way. When you see his models, it's very hard to tell that it's not real.
How many guys are in your weathering shop group now, Jeff?
I forget the exact number, maybe 12 or so, something like that. I forget the exact number, but they're throughout the world, actually. There's a guy I think we just added from Australia, and there's a guy or two from Canada and Mexico. So, yeah, they're a bit, and like Jeremy St. Peter, the guy that basically runs the weathering shop, he'll tell you, we can kind of
Jeremy, we love Jeremy.
Add and subtract guys. You know, some guys fall out of the
hobby. We've got Perry Lambert.
Maybe. Yep, Perry.
Officer Lambert.
Yep.
No, now it's Sergeant, right?
I believe Police Chief.
Police Chief. Is Sergeant
Cherryville.
lower than the Chief? So the Chief's higher?
I believe so,
Chief is boss.
I love you, Perry. I love Perry.
Kansas.
And then there was another gentleman that we made the videos on. He had...
you had Scott Sanders from Texas.
Scott Sanders from Texas.
He's the big Katy guy. And then Jared Slusser from up around Rochester, New York. He does a lot of Conrail stuff.
Yep, Jared's video, that was neat. Plus, we did that one video on you with all your individual freight cars multiple times you've been here for the What's Neat show.
One of the first ones ever, I think.
I do want to say that we've got a sponsor for this podcast, Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. Jeff Otto over there has created this beautiful website for creating jigs that allow you to make hand-laid prefab track that you can then put down on your layout, and it also helps in the detailing. And it's pretty much, you're familiar with that, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I know Jeff pretty well. He actually, when he first started out, he gave me a sample, number 12 switch, I believe. It's like almost 2 feet long. When he asked, what do you want, I said, could you do maybe like a 16 or something? He said, that might be too big. I said, do as big as you can. He built me a 12, and I'm supposed to eventually incorporate it into a diorama, but it's impressive. I'll have to bring it over sometime. I mean, it's like almost 2 feet long. It's crazy.
Is that something you'll ever do, you think, it's hand-laid track, Mike?
I doubt it. Yeah, I think the flex track that's made nowadays is good enough for me. So,
I agree with that. For keeping it simple, you do
Right.
want to just slam down the flex track, glue it down, you can be up and running in no time. I do remember the one thing that the hand laid track worked on the Midwest Valley Modelers layout was the flowing of the track through the switch yard. When you compared regular ladder switches compared to the flowing turnouts that curved and I'll never forget a passenger train pulling into the yard so smooth. So it really was amazing to hand lay track like that and do it that way. What else do we have going on here, guys? I know that Tim Reynolds sent us some beautiful footage of Amtrak number 14 running through Southern California out there, where Tim and Central Valley's out there. Jeff Parker and Tim Reynolds kind of work together out of the same warehouse, and they've got the trains just up the street from him. And who lives in those beautiful houses, And
Up on the top of the hill there.
And how about those Illinois Central private cars?
Right, on the tail end of that Amtrak.
Yeah, just some amazing video. I like it when Tim sends us video like that because it gives us 45 seconds to kill while we talk about it. But it's just really neat. That Santa Fe full-length dome. There's some neat stuff going on there.
Yes.
Thank you, Tim Reynolds, for sharing that with us from Proto 87 Shops. What else? We did a photo shoot this week with, let's think, I wasn't with Chris Palomares. I was by myself in the backyard at 4 o'clock in the morning shooting a moon shot.
Oh, yeah, that turned out
Because Chris
beautifully.
wanted me to shoot these F units up here. And then literally what I had to do was glue some light bulbs into it, and I put a battery in here.
Really?
Yeah. So once it was turned on, I had to leave it on for 3 hours during the photo shoot to light the headlights on the model. But it came out really just kind of spectacular. I'd shot it with the full moon in the background, and that shot came out good on the trestle diorama. But then Chris Palomares edited something in Photoshop and added a different moon and just added more magic to the photograph.
Good.
And that's playing on the Athearn's Facebook page. If you guys want to see that photo, of course, you just now saw it here in the video, which is the magic of video.
Yes.
Jeff, I see you've got this Union Pacific locomotive here. You want to tell us a little about that?
That's one of the newer scale trains, SD40-2s. I think that's from the first run they ever came out with. It's pretty impressive, the detailing on it. I mean, it's got just about everything. I think one of the most impressive things to me was I don't know if people have seen the video, but is all the underframe detailing. That seems to be something that gets overlooked a lot by the manufacturers, and the price of it was pretty nice too. I think it was just a little bit over $200 with DCC and sound. And they, like I was just telling Mike Buddy before we started, I don't think besides pre-order, I don't think they're doing many more than the pre-orders, because it seemed like they sold out really fast.
Right.
I believe the first run is almost already sold out, and then there's the second run should be coming out fairly soon.
Yeah, the amount of detail there is amazing. All the cables up underneath along the chassis. And
all road numbers specific and everything. And it sounded really good, too. I'm not a big DCC sound guy. I'm not that knowledgeable, but we test ran it here. I
What
believe
sound
Ken's got
system's
some
in
video. I believe, is it Loke Sound, I believe? Oh, the box is over there.
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
Yeah, I believe so. I think, Ken, you said you got some video of it for...
I had some other engines here this week. We looked at Dirk Reynolds went out and picked up some Tier 4 Intermountain locomotives, and then they're not actually called Tier 4s. They're called EL44 something. It's written on the box, and I should have brought it over here to read it. The technical, I can't keep up with the modern diesels. I can't keep up with the new changeovers all the time, but this model's beautiful. We shot it outside for the November video coming up because I thought while they were here, we might as well shoot them. But what was really neat, what really caught my attention about these models, not the beautiful flared radiators or all of the neat distinctions that this model's got, but they took the roller bearing caps and they made them spin.
Yes.
So when you see the model running here in this video footage, we shot some close-up that I'm going to run in November. I'll share a little bit of it here with you now. Check out those bearing caps rolling. Now this is black. I wanted to put some chalk on them so you can see it more clearly. But how much design did it take to make a set of diesel trucks that are similar to what we've become accustomed to with freight cars now?
Right.
Bearing caps. You use a lot of those, right? The Athearn wheels?
Yeah, they look neat. I think, like you said, though, for locomotives, I think it was Perry Lambert, like he said, that should be the new standard on locomotives. You think about it, you're always looking at the front end.
Right.
You know, you're looking at the locomotives when you're running your model train, so it makes sense to start putting those on all the locomotives that are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put you on the spot real quick. Last week we talked about brass. Do you have brass? What do you think about brass detail compared to plastic? Your opinion?
I talked, and I think, there's some newer brass stuff out. I don't know that much about it, but I think, actually I was talking with Dan Kohlberg at the Boeing show last week, and like he said, really for the prototype modelers, a lot of this stuff, you're probably better with what's out now, starting with just a plastic model. You know, a lot of the brass stuff, maybe the detailing's a little out of date or oversized, so you're maybe buying a $500 piece of equipment,
right?
And then you're going back and re-detailing it when you could have bought a $50 plastic model and just started
Yes.
with that. So I think it's maybe become more of a collectible niche in the hobby.
I think you're right.
And the prototype guys like the Scale Trains engine or the Tangent freight cars, Exact Rail, and Athearn Genesis, you're better off just starting with that rather. Now, still cabooses, they're so prototype specific to railroads. I think that's
Right.
something where the brass still has a market in the hobby.
You said Caboose. That's the sponsor of the big show, What's Neat, over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. I'm really happy to have Caboose on board as a sponsor, and I've been making a lot of phone calls this week. I think we're going to actually have a few sponsors for that show and a few more here for the podcast, because all the feedback has been extremely positive. We've been reaching a lot of folks out there. We're reaching 173 different countries. The first night, it was 17 different countries, and it broke it down on Google Analytics. It's absolutely amazing. If you told me 15 years ago we'd be dependent upon the internet to make a living, I would probably be frightened. At least I know how to make a living without it. If we lost it tomorrow, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But have you ever thought about that? It's like the internet has
amazing.
taken over our life.
I know. And you carry this thing around in your pocket that has all your music, all of it's an encyclopedia.
Supercomputer,
I mean, amazing.
I fight that all I can. Now, I saw that iOS 11 is Apple's new software program, and it has got screen capture in it so that you can capture the screen of your cell phone. So that means when I'm sitting down here doing the next segment on how to shoot photographs of your models using your Apple device, I'll be able to screen capture right off of the phone the settings. So I can show you how to manually control your depth of field and then manually control your shutter speed. Because I've discovered that with these devices, I can control it like I do my big camera manually. Which is how I like to shoot photos, because then you're in control of the exposure as opposed to depending upon the automatic features and hoping, keep your fingers crossed.
Right.
When it's a job on deadline, there's no time for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where do I go on that? What do you got in front of you right here? What's that,
that's
Mike?
what I'd like to know. This is a interesting passenger platform for a station. But
This is the ITLA scale models Grimsley station, which is really interesting because down the street a half a mile from here there was a station along the Mississippi River below the bluff.
Yeah.
Down on Grimsley Station Road. It's called Grimsley Station.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a passenger pickup for the Mopac down here on the DeSoto sub. But this is that beautiful kit from Nick Masney at ITLA Scaled Models, and it'll fit the footprint of where I've got the Durango station up there, which I've never finished building. So I'm going to put this over there, get some great photographs out of it. What's impressed me the most about it is the thickness, again, of the material that it's made out of. Now, he's described this to me in an email, and I'm going to try to remember what he said, but this is a form of a plywood, a very specialty plywood that can absorb the paint, be laser cut, take the detail and make it accentuate the detail so you can clearly see it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they're so thick, I equate these to building a puzzle. Because you just put it together. You simply put it together, color treat it, and then build it. The roof is interesting. Check out the roof over there. The shingles are all pre-laser cut, so you don't have to put your own shingles on the building. But yet, if you want a masking tape roof, you can just roll it right over it. Or put toilet tissue paper on there and make yourself a tar paper roof if you want it. But hats off to Nick for sending us this kit. I will build it for the What's Neat show, probably December or January. I don't know how it's going to fit in
This is
yet.
one of his as well, right?
Yes, that's the one that Ron Perry from Canada drove down here and built for us, which is going to run in the November's What's Neat show. He put that kit together in less than about 2 hours, actually.
Very nice.
We goofed off. We filmed it for 5 hours, but he built it in 2 hours. And he pre-painted the whole thing before he built it, which is something I don't normally do in a building, but it sure did work. And he didn't color the brick on that. That's the color of the wood, the way it came. So it worked out really well.
And you could probably
put a clear coat
expand
on
one of these with different,
we could talk 25 minutes on that.
Oh, yeah.
But there's some really neat stuff going on in the laser cut kit industry. We've built a lot of BTS structures on the show. Gosh, the train station, we built a train station. We've built the dairy building over there.
Yeah.
Just these various things. And I'm building this log mill project on this diorama over here. That's been going on for quite some time. But honestly, I think I'm thinking about killing that project, which is nuts. I'm not sure how I need the space. We need the studio space to set up the new studio that we want to build for the show. And that project isn't going to produce as much income as what we'll be able to do at some point with the video podcasts and with the other stuff that we're doing right now. So I'm thinking about scrapping that whole project. I got $1,200 in it. I hate to scrap it, even all the lights. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I have a feeling that's going to go.
Wow.
Which, you know, there'll be plenty more to film for the show because we're probably going to end up building a project layout for Model Railroad Hobbyist magazine.
Yeah.
We're in discussions right now with Joe Fugate on possibly building a layout for the show from start to finish and see how that would turn out.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff going on that I could talk for 5 minutes, but guys, say something. I'm going to stop.
Well, I one thing I noticed about this, to go back, is the way they've got the color printed on their individual boards. Some weathered more than others, but then it's laser cut so that each board is defined. You
Yes.
know, there's actually lines between. That's pretty amazing. And the same goes for the quality of this here. I mean, the weather, it really doesn't need to be weathered that
If I
much.
send, you want to build one of those? You want to build one for the show?
Sure, yeah.
Because we
Yeah,
got
I'll
two
do
other
it.
ones over there that we could build. And again, it only took him a couple hours, so you could
Yeah.
probably whip this thing out in half an hour. I know you.
I'll try that.
I know you. We should
yeah.
do that on the show sometime. Why don't we have groups of people build the same kit and see what the end result is? Not
Yeah.
just speed, did you get it done on time, but what does it look like? What were your techniques differing from the other group? That would be an interesting competition.
Yeah.
And that would make for a great video.
Yeah.
So, what else?
Something to consider.
You wanted to talk about the This Is Nuts video. Remember that day? The
yeah.
This Is Nuts video is a video that's running on the website, Model Road Hobbyist website on YouTube, and that's the one where we've got 575,000 views. Remember that day?
I do.
What was
Yeah.
that all about?
I had taken a day off of work because it was going to be nice weather. This was in early spring, and I think Joe Steinman had taken a day off work, and we came down here to do a video because we had planned on doing some nice videos, and the weather wasn't cooperating. You didn't want to cooperate.
I didn't want to do it. I was trying to
it
call.
was
I was cold
colder.
calling Athearn
Right.
that day. I was on my 13-year pursuit to get Athearn as an account because that's how long it took me to get
Yeah.
that. 13 years of don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. Different management, different folks. So that day I was focusing on business, and you guys were in the backyard annoying me.
Yeah.
You were doing this crazy stuff. It was like, what kind of mess are you making? You're getting into the garage. You're getting all these dioramas. I was annoyed, and you can tell from the video how annoyed I was.
Yeah.
But it turned into something incredible because we made the video just to show Dave Davis what we had done that night. And the
Right.
next thing I know, all of a sudden it's like a What's Neat video. And it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, everybody wanted to watch that
Didn't you
because
guys
of the
stack-
cars.
You stack bar chairs and
Yeah.
stuff. It looks like a disaster waiting to happen.
like some
It
kind
looks
of
like
Rube Goldberg contraption with,
and-
everything propped up, but we got trains to run on it, and I had all my auto racks on there,
right.
which was
Yeah, it looked like
pretty scary.
thousands of dollars of models about to
Yeah.
come crashing out. It was cold that day.
Yeah, it was supposed to be warm, but
Right.
and then
trust your
that
models?
evening it was really cold that night.
Yeah, you guys shot all the way into the night,
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah. So anyway,
I'm looking at
Yeah.
the list of reader comments that have come in. It's been nothing but positive. The great video. I'd like to hear you guys commenting on weathering, which we'll do a weathering video on What's Neat pretty soon. I know that's coming up. We've got some other ones circled here. Another great show. I'm getting to like the podcast episodes almost as much as the What's Neat show. The podcast is an informal, less rehearsed air about it. That's because we're winging it by the seat of our pants. I mean, just 4 minutes ago, I was sitting there just freaking out, and now we're just doing this like it's for real.
take some deep breaths.
Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy the high production values of the main show. It's just fun to see you guys relaxed. Do I feel relaxed?
It's up to you.
So there's another comment. Somebody mentioned something about, hey, when can we get a video showing your complete layout, Ken? I got to tell you, that one I've got an answer to. I've got a video at kenpatterson.com, and I've got to say this because I get this request a lot, and I thought everybody knew this, but there's a video at kenpatterson.com that shows exactly how I built my layout. I videotaped and photographed the entire process for like 8 years since I started this, and all of that is in the video, including the prototype locations that I copied, and I take you to some of them and show you. The bluff is a really neat segment. I remember you saw that video where I show the bluff and how I used lasers and every technology we had
Yeah.
available to measure the bluff and get it right. But that video is at kenpatterson.com. I think it's called my home layout video, and it's not very expensive. It's one of the lower priced videos on the website. But check it out. That does show the home layout. Now, in the last 2 years, the layout's completely changing, but all of
Yeah.
that is covered on the What's Neat show.
Right.
All the evolution of things as we go along.
So
I think that might end it to the point where we can get to run some trains. The big hand is on the 8. We've gone our full 20 minutes. Anybody else want to say anything before we cut it off on this week?
Everyone left us this week.
Yeah.
Dave.
Right, just us. Yeah,
Dave, you talked me into coming. I'm here.
We love you, Dave.
But
Yeah.
we'll find you.
I'm sorry Dave Davis couldn't be here tonight. If he walked in the door right now, we wouldn't stop the interview. We'd just sit him right here in a chair and keep on going.
Maybe next week.
It's one of those situations where when you're doing a weekly podcast, you've got to, and we're not paid. None of us are getting paid to do this other than we're going to take the sponsor money that we get from Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply and buy pizzas with it. So we'll be able to feed the guys down here. But at some point, you'll get a model from this manufacturer or that manufacturer or something where there'll be a little bit of compensation on that. Check with your accountant whether you got to pay taxes on that or not. But we've got some great plans for the show. We've got some new ideas. A lot of things are in the works right now. We're going to take this as far as we can, keep it very professional, very informative, but keep it consistent, professional, so that there's always a desire to view the show. So make sure you leave your comments and suggestions on the YouTube readers' feedback. We really enjoy reading that. Chris Palomares goes over every one of those just to make sure that we're covering all aspects of what people are thinking out there.
All right.
So with that, we're going to end this September 16, 2017, podcast number 10, the What's Neat This Week show, sponsored by Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. I'm Ken Patterson. I've got Mike Buddy and Jeff Meyer this evening. Thank you for watching.
So long.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.